You are watching Nimasa this week, the authoritative voice on any and all issues concerning the Nigerian maritime sector. My name is Uretiola Doyle and you are welcome. Now, in the last 2 years or thereabout, Nimasa has been one of the busiest establishments under the Ministry of Transport, and this is thanks to the accelerated development programs being implemented by its Director General, Ziakede Patrick Apoblokemi. Now, the arrowhead of this whole effort has been the Public-Private Partnership Initiative, enhancing Nimasa's capacity for the campaign against terror on the Nigerian waterways. Our short preview this week focuses on the open-minded approach that has been the catalyst for success in this program.
Transparency as a virtue is always highlighted by an attitude of openness and finds common expression in volunteering information necessary for the common good. At least, that is a layman's definition. It is an attitude that is traditionally demanded of those in positions of authority and which in several ways has defined the path of many a great leader in the course of history. The Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, Nimasa, has so far endeavored to make transparency the centerpiece and overriding theme of its regulatory functions of the maritime sector. Big question: how successful has the agency been in this push to inculcate transparency? A little breakdown could come in handy here in order to put things in proper perspective. First, Nimasa is currently involved in a public-private partnership arrangement with the Nigerian Navy and Air Force for the enhancement of security on the maritime domain. Secondly, the agency has also been officially liaising with the naval forces of Benin Republic with a view to dismantling the substantial network of pirates and sea robbers on that country's waters, a move which is seen as capable of isolating their counterparts in crime in next-door neighbor Nigeria. Thirdly, there is also an arrangement of similar nature in place with a private outfit here in Nigeria, which has evidently improved the surveillance and engagement capacity of the agency in relation to its anti-piracy initiative. This robust approach to strategic engagement being adopted by Nimasa for the prosecution of its mandate could only mean one thing: openness and transparency. At least, there is bound to be a school of thought in support of that view. However, it will not be out of place to expect dissenting opinion from the pessimistic minority which has traditionally supported the conspiracy theory, always believing that the jury is out whatever Nimasa does and however it does it. Openness and transparency also come with a third cousin, sincerity, which is basically the ability to own up and admit there is a problem that needs solving somewhere. In the meantime, irrespective of the two extremes of this argument, the fact remains that Nimasa is in the middle of a decision-making and implementation process which has almost nullified the factors that brought the maritime sector to its knees in the first place. Today, that same sector, which almost became moribund and was widely regarded as a drain on the national economy a little less than 10 years ago, is at the threshold of self-actualization and sustenance. Admittedly, the jury might still be out, but for an increasingly informed segment of the population, Nimasa has been a leader with an interesting profile in exhibiting transparency as far as the Nigerian maritime sector is concerned. The management and staff of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency hereby invites our esteemed stakeholders and the general public to the send-forth ceremony of over 1,000 Nigerian youths proceeding for maritime training in reputable international maritime institutions abroad. The successful beneficiaries were selected after rigorous screening procedures administered by the agency and consultants. The agency will be responsible for full sponsorship of their training in maritime fields such as marine engineering, nautical science, and naval architecture. Special guest of honor, His Excellency President Goodluck Jonathan. Chairman of the occasion, His Excellency Senate President, Distinguished Senator David Mark. Guest of honor, Honorable Minister of Transport, Senator Idris Umar. Guest speaker, Mr. Kingsley Kuku, Special Advisor to the President on Niger Delta Affairs and Amnesty Program. Date, Saturday 15th December 2012. Venue, Nigerian Maritime Resource Development Center, Kirikiri off Apapa Oshodi Expressway, Lagos. Time 10 a.m. prompt. Signed, Management.
In recent times, Nimasa has been involved in a number of strategic alliances aimed at increasing its ability to deliver on a mandate owed to the generality of Nigerians. In our feature piece this week, our field correspondent Charles Ohauku looks at the different components of these alliances.
The task of revamping Nigeria's maritime sector had been made difficult by a glaring insufficiency in the supply of personnel and the badly run-down network of infrastructure around the major maritime centers of the country. Collectively, therefore, the need to regenerate this potential abundance in human and material resources gave rise to the establishment of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency under the Nimasa Act of 2004. Between its coming into being and now, Nimasa has operated on a model fundamentally designed to bridge this critical gap in the development process. However, this effort aimed at delivering a functional and business-oriented maritime sector had been frustrated at times by a number of factors, including inconsistency in policy making and an uncoordinated approach to funding. But having overcome most of its teething problems, as well as learning from the experience, Nimasa as of today has been trying to explore the gains of partnerships in the prosecution of its primary mandate. The agency's loudest statement of intent in this regard has been in the area of maritime safety and security, which is 1/3 of the tripod upon which this mandate rests. The current administration at the agency earlier this year entered a public-private partnership arrangement with a company known as Global West Vessels Specialist Limited. The agreement authorizes Global West to supply Nimasa with anti-piracy platforms with the capacity to help it prosecute the campaign against criminality on Nigeria's waterways. Nimasa has taken delivery of the initial batches of these interdiction vessels, and as far as results go, they've been profound. A groundbreaking feat in all ramifications, this PPP initiative also sits in well with the robust approach being adopted by Mr. Akboblokemi in the implementation of the agency's statutory functions. Since this arrangement was brokered, eyebrows have also been raised at different quarters simply because of its novel value, for such a collaboration has never been experienced in the annals of Nigeria's maritime industry. But the Nimasa DG has equally not shied away from an opportunity to defend the position of the agency in this respect against the backdrop of unprecedented success recorded so far. He did so once again recently while addressing the Senate Marine Transport Committee on oversight visit to the agency.
The insinuation that we have a private army, we have a these things are not true. These are part of the campaigns by these oil thieves and these people who are engaged in organized piracy that think that this is going to expose their nefarious business. What essentially are they doing? Is the provision of platforms and electronic software and hardware possible for us to do our job, enforce cabotage law, enforce MAPO laws, enforce anti-piracy movements, enforce anti-oil theft campaigns. And we have the Navy in charge of this pure security. That is essentially what we are doing.
The Planning, Research and Data Management Services Department of Nimasa coordinates the agency's PPP initiatives. Director in charge of that department is Alhaji Jarma Bulama, who remains absolutely convinced that the arrangement has been a step in the right direction given the capital-intensive nature of the vessels and the collateral benefits already being enjoyed by stakeholders in the maritime sector since they were deployed for use.
The fact of the matter is, providing platforms is capital intensive, and especially in government, when platforms are provided, just like vehicles and ministries, you discover that they are misused, nobody cares, nobody maintains them, and before you know it, whatever allowed the program government had, it fails. Now, in recognition of this fact, Nimasa decided to go for the PPP, where the concessionaires provide the platforms, they do the repairs, they do the driving or you can call it piloting, while others in partnership with Nimasa, the Navy, the Marine Police, the Air Force, and the revenue departments like the Maritime Labor who go for their oversight function, I can say, to go on board those vessels so that they can jointly fight the piracy and armed robbery at sea.
Head of the PPP unit at Nimasa is Rex LM, who explains here that the underlying objective for the agency to enter the Maritime Security Initiative is multi-pronged.
First and foremost was the need to get the agency, perform its statutory mandate reasonably to the expectation of its stakeholders, which is the Nigerian public. Secondly, was imperative to respond to a major challenge that was fast becoming a national, problem. The challenge of, insecurity in our waters.
In addition to the deal with Global West Vessels Specialist Limited, Nimasa has an arrangement in place with both the Nigerian Navy and Air Force for the 24-hour surveillance of the maritime domain. Again, Nigeria, through the instrumentality of Nimasa, is in a similar partnership with the naval authorities in Benin Republic. The agency explains the reasons for this.
If you solve the insecurity challenge within the Nigerian maritime domain and the neighboring environment within the Gulf of Guinea region are not equally, secured, then it will amount to a whole waste of time, because these are the key entry points into the Niger. Because some of the security issues actually come from outside Nigerian waters, or they could escape through Nigerian water into those areas.
One question that has been the focus of public interest in this partnership is the one that borders on how much Nimasa has been spending to keep the PPP arrangement going. At several platforms and fora, that question has always found a way to crop up.
Now, what is the remuneration for the private sector that has come in? What the remuneration we agree was that whether there is a private sector coming in or a private party coming in or not, Nimasa traditionally would make some level of monies. Now, they decided to take a benchmark, what Nimasa was making, and grew the benchmark to over 19%, I think 19% or so, in addition to what Nimasa was making. And that it is when the private sector makes money more than this rate, they are entitled to certain percentage. Now, Nimasa, by the terms of agreement, is not expected to raise any cover for this project. So that is in the context with which this job was done. And before doing that, we went to the act that established Nimasa. It is said, and I met it, the management here met it, that Nimasa, in furtherance of its act, can engage a person, a group of persons, a company, can engage with the Navy or any sister agencies in furtherance of its function. We have gone to the judiciary, the Attorney General's office, we have gone to all the statutory bodies before this approval was made.
The aspect of material cost is very minimal to the agency, because the concession itself was designed for the public, rather for the private sector, to supply all the needed, operational assets at no cost, at no material cost to the agency. And they also to maintain it themselves. But most importantly, unlike in most concession where the public commits on a level of fund, this particular model is at zero financial cost to the agency.
Ultimate fulfillment regarding any government policy is derived when the impact simmers down to the targeted segment of the economy. And so it has been with this Nimasa public-private partnership arrangement. From every imaginable perspective, the focal point of this initiative is a desire on the part of Nimasa to create an enabling atmosphere for the growth of indigenous businesses in the shipping subsector of the maritime industry. How deep then has this desired impact been felt? Momentum is undoubtedly on the part of Nimasa as it explores additional avenues for collaborating with the private sector in the course of fulfilling the massive expectations of Nigerians. The agency believes that a continuous build-up of synergy with its partners in the PPP initiative would enhance its primary function of enforcement and by extension broaden the scope of shipping development.
Up next is our news segment, and this week we're dedicating it to a recently held 2-day training workshop on enforcement organized by Nimasa for members of its staff, the Navy, as well as Global West.
Enforcement agents from Nimasa, elements of the Nigerian Navy involved with the Maritime Guard Command, and operatives of Global West Vessels Specialist Limited last Monday converged on the agency's Resource Development Center in Lagos for the start of a 2-day mind-rubbing session. The platform was a training workshop and orientation on code of conduct and enforcement procedures designed to continuously improve Nimasa's flag and port state administration capabilities. Nimasa also sees the training workshop as an avenue for maximizing the operational relationship among partners in the public-private partnership initiative being driven by the agency. The well-attended forum was addressed by key functionaries of Nimasa, including the Executive Director for Maritime Safety and Shipping Development, Captain Ezekiel Bala Agaba, who represented the Director General, Ziakede Patrick Akpoblokemi, and head of the PPP unit of the agency, Rex Elem, who gave an overview of the issue in perspective.
Is to foster a very, very common understanding of the rules and responsibility of each of the parties that are involved in this concession.
A retired director in the Federal Ministry of Transport, Engineer Olu Akinsoji, spoke on ways of improving on the delivery of the flag state responsibilities of Nimasa.
Because they are linking the sovereignty of this nation, the jurisdictional responsibility of this nation with the rest of the world, where we host other people on commercial enterprise.
Enforcement is seen as a key component of shipping development, and according to Nimasa, its current template for going forward includes an improved approach which can only bring positives to the country's maritime industry.
So the strategy is for us to stop the pirates, the robbers from operating on our coast. That will now allow vessels to come to Nigeria for economic activities. So it's the benefits to the shipping industry is enormous, and we expect that they should give us all the cooperation we need, because it is very important that our relationship with the Global West in provision of the platform in supporting us in fighting piracy is of utmost priority.
All mining requirements for the cabotage vessels are manned by Nigerians in accordance with the Cabotage Act. However, for a very, very long time, there was no enforcement. Today, we are happy. Today, we are happy because the current arrangement makes it mandatory for all the cabotage vessels to engage Nigerian seafarers, unless in cases where we don't have the speciality.
The Maritime Guard Command of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency has arrested a service cargo vessel, NVRT, laden with over 80,000 liters of suspected adulterated automotive gas oil or diesel. The vessel in question was arrested at Bakare Jetty, Kirikiri Waterfront, Apapa, Lagos, while discharging her illicit cargo into trucks for onward distribution and sale. The Maritime Guard Command also arrested 2 crew members of the vessel who were supervising the discharge operation. Other crew members and operators of the receiving trucks have disappeared from the loading point on sighting officers of the Maritime Guard Command of the agency. The vessel is now being detained at the Nimasa Resource Center jetty, Kirikiri, Apapa, Lagos. Nimasa says the arrested vessel and crew members would be handed over to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, for further investigation and prosecution. In the meantime, Commander of the Maritime Guard Command, Captain Promise Dapa, has given more details about the arrest operation.
It's a Nigerian vessel, a local fishing vessel that was just modified for this purpose. And like I was said in the briefing, the crew had disembarked. I think just 2 of them that were on board when we arrived. And of course, when one of the vessels is arrested, the other crew members are at large. But the investigation is ongoing, and we're trying to fish them out, or also in talk with the other relevant security outfits who will take over the investigation. And of course, these products are, they are stolen products, so they don't have a base. When they find them, they try to get them out to sea. They arrange where the vessel will come and transship, and they bring them in the thick of the night, go to any of the jetties, discharge them quickly into trucks, and they disappear. Already they have even started discharging this product into a few trucks before we arrived at the scene of the incident.
Up next is the Maritime Cargo Report, and if you still don't know what that is, it's simply a breakdown of cargo in ships expected to berth in ports within the Lagos Pilotage District this week. As always, the Maritime Cargo Report is brought to you courtesy of the Shipping Development Department of Nimasa.
There are 5 motor vessels awaiting berth at the Lagos Pilotage District this week. 3 out of that number laden with rice, while the other 2 have bulk sugar on board. 17 motor tanker vessels are also awaiting berth on the Lagos Pilotage District this week. Out of that number, there are 9 carrying premium motor spirit or petrol. 5 of the vessels are laden with jet A1 or aviation fuel, while 3 are loaded with kerosene.
And now to our favorite part of the show, where we get to interact with our viewers. It's questions and answers time. And we begin this way with a question, and it's from Terga Akim, all the way from Ankpa in Kogi State. And his question reads, we understand that the Maritime Academy of Nigeria, ORON, is not receiving statutory support from Nimasa, which accounts for poor infrastructure in the school and poorly prepared cadets who subsequently graduate from the school. Why is this so? And your answer is, Nimasa has met all statutory remittances to MAN ORON, and this is up-to-date information. Earlier, there were arrears, but the present Director General has since resolved the situation. But note that Nimasa does not interfere in the day-to-day running of the school. The management of the school is responsible to the Federal Ministry of Transport. Nimasa is bold to confirm that graduates from MAN ORON can match their counterparts from other international institutions. Now, our next one is a comment, and it's coming from Ernest Cholom, all the way from Jos in Plateau State. And he says, there are several opportunities in the maritime industry. It doesn't seem like Nimasa has a 24-hour platform for meeting the information needs of the public. And our response is, Nimasa has a public relations unit equipped to respond to public inquiries. You can also visit the Nimasa website or the PR unit at Nimasa headquarters, and this is at number 4, Burma Road, Apapa. Officers at the PR unit are equipped to address your inquiries. You can also send more inquiries to the producer of this program. Now, we repeat this every week. This is an interactive show. So whatever your questions are, your queries, or any comments you need to make, all you need to do is to send them to the email address that will be showing on your screen subsequently. And that brings us to the end of this week's edition. We hope we kept you informed and educated. Now, for the avoidance of doubt, I'm going to repeat it one more time. Whatever your questions are, whatever comments you want to make, all you need to do is to send them to the email address currently showing on your screen. Now, I'm going to be here same time, same station next week. Until then, I wish you smooth sailing and bon voyage.